Welcome, everybody, to Coffee Connection Live. We are so happy you're joining us today. We are here to make connections and to connect with our special guest. We're really excited today to welcome Jane Campbell, who grew up in a military family and is now a professional soccer player. Hey, Jane, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. This is such a treat for us. I want to jump right in. You grew up in a military family. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and about your upbringing?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Kennesaw, Georgia. Both of my mom and dad still live there today. I played soccer my whole life growing up, and then I was fortunate to go to Stanford University. I have a degree in psychology there, and I graduated in 2017. And that same year, I was drafted to go play professional soccer for the Houston Dash, and I've actually been with Houston my entire career thus far. So this is my sixth year as a professional, and enjoying every minute of it. I have not served, but like you said, my mom and dad and my brother have all served or are still serving. So everyone who's joining us, if you serve, thank you so much for your service.
We appreciate that. And thank you. I mean, being a military kid is definitely not easy. I like to say that all family members serve in some way, shape, or form. When we connected a little bit before this call, you told me, though, you didn't have the typical military kid upbringing where you move so many times and change schools and everything else. So how was your upbringing a little bit different?
Yeah, I was fortunate. My mom, when she was a kid growing up, her dad was a Marine. So she actually moved every year of her life for 18 years. So that is quite extraordinary. I unfortunately did not do that. And I was in the same household growing up, which was great for me. But my dad had just retired right as I was born. So there was no more moving. But they were definitely strict parents and had a lot of rules, a lot of house rules, and I definitely got the brunt of that. So very thankful for them, and but I was fortunate not to move.
A lot of discipline, I would imagine, comes from having a dual
Absolutely,
military household, right?
exactly. Yeah, lots of rule breaking and lots of punishment, but I'm thankful for it.
I mean, that's life, right? So this year, especially on Coffee Connection Live, we focused a lot on wellness and just how to be better versions of ourselves every day. So how has playing sports impacted your outlook on wellness?
I think sports, just like any profession, really teach you so many lessons, throughout your day to day, but also through each year. And, each season, something new always comes about. I think the most recent one everyone has been faced with is the pandemic. And, everyone was shut down. So just like us, we couldn't even train, we couldn't go to facilities. And so that was just an interesting learning curve. Everyone was kind of taught, what do you like to do in your day to day now? And I think for us athletes, a lot of us struggled because we were kind of like, our identity is our sport. And I think that is what athletes really struggle with. And very similar to veterans, I hear my parents talk about that all the time, that when they got out, it was kind of like, what do they do next? And I think that year for everybody, we kind of had a lot of self reflection as to, what hobbies do we like? How do we, spend our time? How can we make money if we can't work anymore? And I think every year I've always been taught a lesson. I think this year, um, currently with the team, I'm a veteran on the team, oddly, even though I'm only 27, and I'm learning a lot of patience and a lot of guidance and kindness with the younger group, which is great. And I'm very thankful for all these lessons learned. So I would say every season something new comes about, a new challenge, and I just have to tackle it head on.
So what are some things that you do off the field to make sure that you're keeping your head in the right headspace and just taking care of yourself in general?
Yeah, when I first moved to Houston, I was, we only trained for about 3 hours, maybe four max in the whole day. So a lot of my older teammates at the time coached. And so I was kind of like, that was a great way for me to know the community. I mean, even if I don't want to coach. And so since my rookie year, I've coached all these little kids and I've met their parents. And a lot of them have, welcomed me with open arms and, have me over for family dinners. And it's been a great way to, one, help kids learn soccer, but also make connections through the community. And, some of these families they'll become lifelong friends. So I definitely think coaching for me is a big outlet, even though it is soccer. It helps me just kind of unload, and, I don't have stress when I'm coaching. It's fun to see kids grow. And I love that they love soccer. And I think they think it's cool that they get to train with a professional. And for me, it's just fun to be out there with them. So I definitely say coaching is a big aspect of my life outside of training. And then just in the last year and a half, my dad has been really competitive with golf. And so he rubs it in my face every time he gets a better golf score than me. So I try to go to the golf range, once a week, but that's just for fun. So
I love that. I definitely want to bounce off the coaching thing as a soccer mom myself. My 7-year-old played her first season last year, and I think coaching makes all the difference. So to have
yeah.
a role model like you coaching the little kids and really setting that example from such a young age, that's got to be super cool, because I feel like the coaching can make or break the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. We've all had, not so fun coaches. And, even when I was really young at like 9 years old, I stopped playing soccer for about 2 years. I just didn't really have a good time at some soccer camp. And, I told my parents I wanted to stop. And then 2 years later, I was like, I kind of want to pick it up again, and had a new coach, new teammates. So, like you said, I definitely think the coach helps a lot. And at the end of the day, I think kids just need to have fun and want to have fun. And, if they can learn the game along the way, that's all that matters.
I love that. I'm actually making mental notes because my 7-year-old doesn't want to play again. And I'm like, no, you keep playing. But I love that you took a couple years off, and then you knew when you were ready, you went back to it. So your parents let
Yeah,
you quit for a couple years?
they did. Yeah,
Okay.
I have an older brother, and I just did whatever he did. So he's not the best soccer player. He knows that, so I can say that. But he did, baseball, tennis. So I kind of followed him to the baseball field and onto the tennis court, and I was okay at everything. I played basketball, and I feel like I just picked soccer one because no one in my family did it, so no one could coach me, which was great. And then it was just, I thought I was pretty good at it, and I think it's turned out pretty well. So
Yeah, I would say it has for sure. I read that you were the youngest player called up for the women's national training camp, women's soccer national training camp. What was that like? And how old were you?
yeah, I was 17. That was when I was in high school. I got a call from the coach, and he essentially just called me and was like, "Hey, remember how he said, we might be calling you soon?" And I was like, "Yeah, coach. Hope you're doing well." And he was like, "Yeah, well, we're calling you now. I mean, you need to come into camp in a week." And I was like, "Oh my gosh," and it was so funny. I mean, everyone was like, "Who is this little shrimp?" Right? And it was definitely quite an experience. The camp, I wasn't there the whole camp. I was there for the first leg. It was actually in Jacksonville, Florida. So I got to spend 5 or 6 days with the team and train with them and go to the game, which was incredible. And it was just a different world to me. I mean, I knew the team obviously was very well known, and they were such a powerful team, right? They just won and won and won, and everybody knew who they were. And here I am, this like little kid. People probably thought I was like the ball girl or something, which was great. But it was just an incredible experience to see the how excellent the team is, and just the demand of excellence on all areas of life, whether you're on the field or off. And I think it really was eye opening for me for my career moving forward, because I just knew what I had to do if I wanted to be there. And obviously, every year that team gets better and better, and people come in and out, and that's great. But the level of and the demand of excellence always remains the same. And I think that's really unique to US soccer and to the national team.
And then fast forward a few years, you actually played on the Olympic team. Is that right?
That's correct.
What was it like playing at that level? Did it feel like a step above, or were you already like at that level?
I definitely think I was not at that level. And still to this day, I'm still striving to always be on that team. And that's always a dream of mine to be there. And, making the Olympic team, one as an alternate, and then the rule change, and then we all got rostered. It was so bizarre because in 2020, when COVID hit, we were all supposed to go, and then the Olympics got postponed. And for someone like me, who in 2020, if the Olympics would have happened, I don't think I would have made the team at all. And so the delay in the year really actually benefited me. And I was able to, towards the end of the year when we were able to play again, I was able to be in better form. And it was just really bizarre, but fortunate timing for me. And so going to the Olympics has always been a lifelong dream of mine. And as a kid, I told my parents I wanted to go. And it was just so surreal being there. And it was, even though it was under unique circumstances and we were in a bubble, and all these protocols, it was just incredible. And the country of Japan was amazing. The people there were so welcoming and so kind to us. And it was just an experience I'll never ever forget. It was incredible.
That's so cool. I've got goosebumps just thinking about that. So you're 27 as we sit here today, and you've been on the national team. You've been on the Olympic team. What's next? What goals do you have, like, for yourself, both professionally, athletically, and personally outside of soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I would another dream of mine is to play on the World Cup team and you know, whether that's, you know, in the next coming years or it's a new cycle down the road. I'm always striving for that and you know, it's not easy. So playing in Houston and you know, I just re-signed for 3 more years, so I'll be in Houston for 3 years. Hopefully I can bring a championship to that team as well. That's been a dream of mine since I've been drafted here, and I think it's unique. I've been here my entire career. Usually in the league, just because we're so small, there's always moving parts and people move all the time. But I've fortunately stayed, and I think that's pretty special. So I think career-wise, those would be 2 big goals coming up. I think off the field, um, you know, I have a brand called Ace of Spades Apparel, which gives back to help veterans get PTSD treatment. I would love to, it's not ever going to be, you know, the Vineyard Vines, but I do hope, you know, I can raise enough money where veterans can get treatment and it's more well known. So that's kind of my project on the side in my life. And it's fun to learn how to run a business and create a business. And I built a website and I never thought I could ever do that. I'm not really technologically advanced. So that was really fun doing that. So I would say those are some big goals of mine.
Girl. And if you go to that website, make sure you read the about section because Jane writes the story of how she came up with the apparel line. And I think it's really cool just to read about how that progressed and came to be. So make sure you guys check out that website. Um, you talked about being on the Houston Dash for so long. So recently, women's soccer in particular has made headlines for this landmark deal that you guys have reached with equal salaries for the women's and men's teams. Can you tell us a little bit about that and then just what it means to you, having been a veteran in this league for a while?
Yeah, I think it's incredible. You know I'm signed on with that lawsuit and I don't even want to claim that I did all the work because there are so many players ahead of me who have done all the work. And I've just been very fortunate to be a small portion of that. But, you know, even going back to the 99ers, you know, they were just trailblazers in our sport, regardless of money. I mean, they put women's soccer on the map. And then you come in with 2015 and again, it's just this form of excellence that that team has had for years and years and years. And so all those players, you know, deserve credit. And I hope they get what they deserve because they really have paved the way for women's soccer and in the United States, especially. And now all over the world. I mean, it's just, you see it in the club game now. Fans are showing up to every game, you know, 80,000 fans, 50,000 fans, 20,000 fans in a third division game. It's just, it's quite incredible. And now I think that deal with US soccer, you know, with the league, now that those players are in the league, I think it'll only help the league just grow and grow and grow. And, you know, if you compare the NWSL to the MLS, it's hard to compare just because the MLS is so far ahead of us. But now that we've gotten this equal pay deal and now that the NWSL has their CBA, it's only going to help and get better. And it's going to take time, obviously, for us to, you know, catch up and then continue to grow the game. But for the little girls who are, you know, 5, 6, 7 years old, this is going to impact them tremendously. And, you know, hopefully one day they can see that, you know, when they're 18 or 17, they can look and say, oh my gosh, I can do this for a profession and be treated like a professional and like the athlete I deserve to be. So it's just incredible. I think it really moves our sport forward. It makes other people look at us like we are professionals and we're to be taken seriously. And I think it just makes everybody happier and more enjoyable. And people want to come to the games now, and it's more entertaining. And so I think it's just great. It's incredible to be a part of. I'm very honored to be a part of that, and I'm very thankful for all the players who have came before me to lead the way.
The way that you talk about the 99ers, and I remember being a teenager at that point and seeing Brandy Chastain at the end of that game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something I'll never forget. And I look back and I looked up to those women so much. And now you guys are those women for the next generation. You know, our kids who are playing, like you said, you've made a difference for them when they become soccer players. Like, it's cool. It's such a cool thing. And we're just really proud of you. And you know, you have fans all over the world that are just, I mean, it's just really exciting. So congratulations and well done to all of you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Um, One question that we ask everyone, and I think it's going to be especially poignant asking you, what's the best piece of advice anybody's ever given you?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. My dad and I always have this joke slash saying, and it's not really a joke, but he always told me that whenever he was going through something hard at work and, um, whether it was stressful, whether it was challenging, you name it, his response to anybody was, "I'm just happy to be here." And we always say that with each other. If we're going through something, like maybe we're at an event that we don't want to be at, and stuff like that. And to me, when I think about that, you know, even when I go into camps and I'm not playing, or, in Houston when I was benched, um, it just seems like tough times, and it's kind of like, great, this is another knock on me, or, I'm falling down the totem pole again. But when I think of I'm just happy to be here, it's like, I'm very thankful to be here, and where I'm at today is so unique to anybody else in the world. And it kind of just puts things in perspective for me. So I would say that whenever there's a high, or whether there's a low, or whether you're right in the middle and just coasting through whatever you are, I think feeling that you are happy to be there is so important, because I think if you're not, then it is time to reflect, and maybe you need to change, or maybe something has to change with your routine, or maybe it's switching jobs, whatever it may be. But for me, when everyone, if anyone ever asks me how I'm doing and I say I'm happy to be here, I do truly mean it. And it makes me reflect on myself and say, make sure I'm thankful to be here, and that I really soak in the moment, because it's so unique, and it's so special for what I'm doing. And, it's so unique to be a professional athlete. So I'm very happy to be here. And I would say that's a big part of how I look at things nowadays and going forward.
I love that. An attitude of gratitude kind of fills you up no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. We had spouses who are joining us today live sent in their questions ahead of time. I'm going to go ahead and read some of those to make sure we get them in. So Catherine, who's an Air Force spouse, says, what's the best piece of advice you can give to a 12-year-old soccer lover who wants to continue improving?
Wow. I hope one day they take my spot, they take my job and they continue on. But I think at that age, it's so important just to have fun. And again, kind of like we touched on earlier, there's so many, coaches out there who kind of create a stressful environment, and, kids kind of lose the love of the game. And even now, I mean, I coach some kids who, are 10 years old and play soccer 6 days a week. And I'm kind of like, whoa there, right? Like, I hope you get time to go to the playground and get an ice cream cone and stuff like that. So I think at that age, I just hope the kids are having fun, and they're on a team, with their friends, and with a coach that they enjoy. And I think that's so important, because if you're having fun with it, then you'll be able to want to, train more on your own, and, juggle the soccer ball in the backyard, and, get mom and dad and pelt the ball at them, and I think that's how kids grow a lot. And that's what I did when I was a kid. I mean, like I said, when I was like 9, I wasn't enjoying it. So I just stopped. And, that could be right or wrong, but I ended up missing it. And so I came back. And I think for young kids like that, I really want them to have fun, and see that they can improve their craft just by doing little things like juggling the ball, or hitting the ball against a brick wall, and just simple tasks that can carry such a long way further down in life. Because we do it as professionals, we'll get a ball and just knock it against the wall. But I would just say have fun with it, and it's okay to not have fun at times, but it's always important to have fun at the end of the day, and find joy in the sport, and know it can lead you to different worlds down in life.
That's a perfect segue to the next question, actually. So Vanessa, who's an Air Force spouse, says, what location has been your favorite to travel to for games, or just in general, and why?
This is a funny question, because I do get it a lot. And when I was on the U17 national team, we had our World Cup, and it was actually in Azerbaijan, which is near Turkey and Iran. And we went over there, and it was so interesting. It's actually the second leading country in the world behind Dubai in modern architecture. And I'm a big fan of modern architecture. I love Dubai. I've never been, but if I could go anywhere in the world, I would go to Dubai. And so being in Azerbaijan, all of these buildings were just beautifully made, and technologically advanced. We got to go to a J-Lo concert, and at this beautiful theater that was in the ocean, and it had all these lights coming from it. The mall there was made up of all glass, and it was like 6 stories tall. And it was also quite unique. We also stayed in this village where 3 players were in this little hut looking thing, and then it was so bizarre because there were guards outside of each hut, with our security, but they were these big guys, big guns. And at 17, you were kind of just like, who are these people, and obviously they're part of our group, but it was just so fascinating and so different than anywhere that I had been at the time in the United States. And so that, to me, I'll never forget that trip. I mean, I'll probably never go back to Azerbaijan, but it was so cool going there at such a young age and seeing all the architecture that's so different here in the United States. So I would definitely say Azerbaijan.
That is not what I expected. I've never even heard that about Azerbaijan. So
Yeah,
that's really cool. I'm like, how do I get
yeah.
to Azerbaijan? How do I add that to my list? I'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
Wendy, who is a Coast Guard spouse, says, what advice can you give young girls with dreams of playing professional soccer?
I would always say, me and my best friend, who she also plays professionally and is on the national team, we always text each other and we always just say, stay the course. And to me, that is so true. There's always going to be ups and downs. And to be a professional athlete, only less than 2% of all athletes become a professional. And that's not to discourage anybody. It's just, it's quite hard, I think. And I think, a lot of people think it's easier than it is. And just based on the numbers, it's quite hard. And so I think as a young kid, if that's your dream, you better go for it, and not lose sight of that dream and not let anybody stand in your way. And I had a coach tell me when I was about 15 that if I was our country's future, that our country's in trouble. And it was the worst thing anyone had ever said to me, and I'll never forget it. And I don't want to give that person credit, but here I am giving him credit because I stuck with it, and I knew I could do it. And maybe I wasn't going to be good enough, but at least I was going to try. And so I just did my best. I trained as much as I could, and I did other sports. I played basketball and tennis up until college, and that was so fun for me because it helped soccer. Actually, it was great cross training, and I think I never lost sight of the vision, but I was able to step away from soccer and do basketball or do tennis and still maintain this dream of becoming a pro. And even when I told my parents when I was really young that I wanted to be a pro, I didn't even know if there was a pro league at the time. And I could probably do the math, and I don't think there was, but um, I knew I wanted to do it. I saw the national team on TV, and I was like, I can do it. I just need to train and keep going and have fun. And so, if that's the dream, then go crush it, and you can do it. Have all the faith in yourself.
I love it. I love it. Switching back to your military ties, Carolyn, who's a military spouse, wants to know, what is your favorite memory as a military child? And how do you think that your childhood impacted who you are now as an adult?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I would say, my brother probably remembers more as a young child of my dad serving. But now, as when I was a kid, my brother is currently serving in the Coast Guard. But when I was younger, he always had talked about serving and wanting to serve. And now that he is serving, I think I get to, not live through him, but his experiences are so so much more fresh to me than my parents. But as a young kid, my father was a Blue Angel, and so he would always take us to the Blue Angel shows, and to me that was just so incredible. And what they do in the sky is just, I can't even imagine doing that. And so hearing his stories with the Blue Angels, and even my mom flying A4s and A6s, and her stories of going up and being an instructor and turning the plane off and having the plane fall out of the sky, I was kind of like, that's wild. And I don't even know what to comment on it because it's so insane to me. And now my brother's a helicopter pilot in the Coast Guard. And so lots of pilots in the family. I hate flying, which is so funny. So I think as a child, hearing their stories, a lot of them, I think my parents have tried to relate them to leadership or team camaraderie, which is something that would relate to me and, my athletics. And I will always be thankful for their stories because in the military, they obviously work as one unit. There's no individual. And I think that's so important in life. And in any business, and especially as a sports team, there's lots of egos and lots of individuals can be on the team, and the best teams are the ones that are most cohesive and have the best chemistry. And so I try to pick pieces from their stories and their experiences. And now my brother's trying to, lead his squadron whenever they go on tours, and it's fascinating seeing him in this leadership role when he's kind of introverted, and he's great at it. I mean, he's so good at his job, and so I don't know if that answers the question really, but I would just say my experiences as a child, my parents have always tried to relate their military stories to what I'm doing, and that would mostly be communication, leadership, team camaraderie, and I've learned so much from them, and I always will, and my brother as well.
I think that's a perfect response, and definitely relatable,
Yeah,
as a military spouse and a mom. Yes, teamwork is
yeah,
such a big thing.
yeah.
Malin, who's an Army spouse, says, what is one of your favorite ways to relax and de-stress after being on the road or after a particularly special game, stressful training or game?
Yeah, I think, I'm very thankful that this sport has allowed me to travel all over the world and all over the country. And when we're in season, we travel all the time. And I'm very thankful for all those cities we get to go to. But I think the hardest part is because we travel so much, when we get back, I just don't want to travel at all. And it's so funny because my parents will say, "Oh, come visit us in Atlanta," or my brother will say, "Oh, let's meet up at the beach." And I do want to do that, and it would be great if we ever had like a week off, but it's always hard. We always only have like 2 days off max. And so when I get home, I just go home and kind of just shut everything off for a bit. I do have 4 dogs at home, so they keep me quite busy. And so I'm happy I have them, but at the same time, I wish they would just lay down for a bit. But I would say when I'm at home, um, I do like to go to the golf range now, because my dad, and just kind of unwind and try and hit a golf ball. And in Houston, we're so close to Galveston, Texas, and it's about a 40-minute drive from me. So sitting on the beach is something that I love doing. And I grew up in near Gulf Shores, Alabama, and we had a house there, so it was nice to just sit on the beach and just relax. So I'm really big just sitting down and not moving much, because then I know I'll have to travel again.
I love it. And I agree. There's definitely something relaxing about being on the beach and just
Yeah,
doing nothing.
yeah.
Angela, who's a National Guard spouse, says, how do you mentally rebound from injuries and get past thoughts of getting hurt again?
That's a good question. The worst injury I've had is I tore my MCL when I was 17, I believe, 16, 17, and it was actually right before the Youth World Cup. I mean, it was to a point where this staff was kind of like, "Oh my gosh, we might not have, we might not be able to take you." Um, so it was really scary getting hurt. Obviously, I was kind of like, "What did I just do?" And knees are always complicated, and a lot can go wrong and a lot can go right with your knees. And so fortunately I didn't need surgery, but it was about um, a 6 to 8 week recovery. They really rushed it, and they tried to get me ready for the World Cup. And fortunately I was, but I think in that moment, when I was in high school and in that age, I was a little shrimp. I mean, I'm still pretty skinny now, but I was really little then. And I hadn't hit my growth spurt yet. I was about, 5'6". I'm about 5'9" now, and much stronger. And so I think once that injury occurred, I was kind of like, how can I just get stronger all around? So, if that were to happen, essentially a ball just hit my foot and took my leg away. And that's how my knee, kind of fell apart. And I was kind of like, okay, from that moment on, how can I just strengthen areas around me that, if I do get hurt, I do get hurt, but I know that I can trust my body to be in these odd positions and know that if I get hit with a ball, or, someone runs into me, I'll be okay. So it was definitely hard and nerve wracking, but I think once you go through the rehab and trust your rehab and then trust your body again, um, the more strength you put into it and the more stabilization you put into it, the trust just takes over. And even now, you get little knocks and stuff, but um, I would just say make sure you just trust your body and have the confidence that your body can take whatever it's going to handle.
Anna, who is an Army spouse, says, what can a kid do to improve their game and plug into training opportunities that might get them recruited? You said you played in college, so I think it's maybe leaning towards that.
Yeah, I would definitely say any technical work that a kid could do is just worth $1,000,000. And simple things like juggling a ball or being able to pass the ball 50 times consistently against a wall. I would always get a brick wall and pick like 3 or 4 bricks that would make a square and just try and hit those bricks. And every time I missed, I would start back to zero. And it's just little things like that that actually pay miles down the road. And again, like I said, even now we still do those to this day because the technical ability of the individual will always help the group as a collective. And understanding the game is obviously a huge, huge factor. And a fun fact, I actually don't watch soccer. I'll watch my friends if they're playing in the league, but I actually don't like watching it. I've never watched it as a kid, and my family always watched, football, hockey, basketball, but I found that all sports kind of translate. And so basketball to me really translates to soccer. So I love watching basketball, and it's 5v5 and soccer's 11v11, but the movements and the intertwines of all the players, it's the exact same. It's just on a bigger pitch. So I would just say the understanding of the game, but as a young kid, I think the technical ability is huge. And then your training opportunities, nowadays I think leagues have just grown, tremendously. When I was younger, there was really only like 2 leagues you could play in all across the country, and that was great. But I would say anywhere that you can get college exposure is great to play in. It doesn't really matter the league. And again, I would say whatever league your kid has the most fun in, that's where they should be because they'll perform the best. The league I was in had a bunch of college scouts, and I was very fortunate to be in front of them. But there's also tons of camps that colleges go to, and little mini camps that colleges go to, and that exposure just helps everybody. So the more you can get exposed, the better.
Cool. I love that. Our final question comes from Donna, who's a Navy spouse. She says, what were the most important things your parents did to help you succeed professionally?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question. Again, like I said, playing soccer, they never played, which is great. So they could never coach me. And that was awesome, even though nowadays they think they know the sport in and out, which I'll give them credit. They've learned a lot. But I think the biggest thing they talked about was really just leadership and team camaraderie, and how to handle myself. One, as a goalkeeper, which is interesting because, I'm not a field player, but I communicate a lot. I'm kind of like the quarterback of the team in a way. And it's just a unique position. And two, it was more of just like relationships with the staff that I had. So their guidance was really based on communication. And to me, that has helped me miles down the road. And even now, speaking with you all, it's a comfort. I have so much comfort speaking about my experiences. And if I want to go up to the coach, I'm now confident in myself to go speak to them about whatever I need to speak about. And that to me has really just helped me be comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable on the field. I'm confident in myself. And whether I'm playing well or not, it's kind of here nor there. It's more of just I'm comfortable with myself, and I know the game, and I also know I'm getting better as an athlete because of the work I'm doing on the field. And for me, if I tell them about an experience I've had, their first question is, all right, well, how was it communicated? What was said back? What did you say? And at the end of the day, our sport is a ton of communication and a little bit of athletic ability. And so I think if I can nail communication, then my team will be better off for it. So I feel like that is really what I focus on, especially as I've gotten older, that the relationships I have with people are so important, whether it's my teammates or my staff, and on any team. And so I think their guidance in that has been really, really crucial. And, again, they've played on the most elite teams in the world, being a part of the military, and they've been so successful. And so we've always been so successful. So for me, their guidance and teamwork is so special, and I'll always soak up their knowledge.
I can't think of a better note to sort of wind it down and end it than on that. I think you speak very poignantly about what your parents did for you, but also you have such an admirable headspace about being a professional athlete. It's really, really been an honor speaking with you today, Jane. We thank you so much for being here. We wish you the best of luck in your game today, and in your season with the Houston Dash and in all of your endeavors. If people want to keep up with what you're doing, can you tell us how they can follow you on social media?
Yeah, my Instagram is just at Jane Campbell _ I believe. I'm not really on Twitter, so I don't tweet that all that much, but Instagram's probably the best way.
Again, thank you so much for being with us today, Jane. It's been awesome speaking with you. We really appreciate your insight and all of just the motivation and encouragement that you're giving to military families all over the world. Today, we hope you will join us again next time for Coffee Connection Live. Until then, keep on connecting, and we'll see you next time.